2015 was the year I got my first few 100% completions and found that I enjoy playing games that way. I mostly played recommended games though, but 2016 was the year I actually started exploring. Some of these games I knew exactly what to expect. Others were a complete shot in the dark, but every single one of them stayed with me. This was the year of narrative gut punches, suffocating post-apocalyptic worlds, and hidden gems I almost slept on entirely. But before the main list, I have to talk about two games that are out of my comfort zone. First up is the Civilization V. I'm not a big strategy games guy. For an experienced player, the genre usually feels like starting at an overcomplicated spreadsheet. But Civ 5 did something rare. It made the vast web of systems incredibly intuitive. I spent hundreds of hours building empires and navigating global politics. It gave me my very first experience of the one more turn sickness. It's 2 AM, I have school the next morning, but I just need to make one more move. And another. And another. The other shoutout goes to Don't Starve Together. I usually avoid pure sandboxes. If a game doesn't give me direction or an end goal, I lose interest. But playing this with friends completely flipped the script. While they explored, I stepped into the role of camp chef, spending hours cooking the crock pot, building farms, and drying meat just to make sure our party didn't starve. It proved to me that the right company can make any genre a masterpiece. But now, let's get into the definitive top 10. Number 10 is Call of Juarez, Gunslinger. On the surface, it looks like a disposable arcade shooter, but the storytelling approach was brilliant. Before playing Gunslinger, names like Billy the Kid meant nothing to me. Gunslinger changed that. You're playing through the unreliable, exaggerated memories of an old bounty hunter, recounting his run-ins with legends like Billy the Kid. The voice acting captured the period perfectly, and the face-off mechanic, where drawing your gun early was considered dishonorable, offered the tension I still haven't found in a game since. Number 9. BioShock Infinite. Trading the claustrophobic ocean depths of Rapture for a city in the clouds was a massive gamble. And while I still prefer the twist of the original game, Infinite absolutely nailed its combat. Combining weapons and powers simultaneously felt flawless. But Infinite is the only game in the trilogy I did 100%. The achievement design shifted to a mindless grind of kill X enemies in a Y specific way. For a franchise driven entirely by its narrative soul, that felt hollow. I got what I needed from the game by experiencing a great story and walked away at 63%. Number 8 is Batman, Arkham Asylum. I talked about Arkham City in my last video, but honestly, Asylum provided the far better overall experience for me. In fact, even after playing the entire Arkham series, I still think Asylum gave me the most complete experience. A big reason for that is how focused it felt. After spending time with larger games, I appreciated that Arkham Asylum didn't waste my time. It gave me the atmosphere, combat, and detective work I wanted without burying everything under endless side content. Looking back, I think this was one of the first times I realized that bigger doesn't mean better. Number 7. Mad Max. I went into this open world completely blind, with no expectations. Because of that, it became one of my biggest surprises of the year. What hooked me wasn't necessarily the story, it was the constant feeling of progression. Every session felt productive. The hand-to-hand combat borrowed the heavy, punchy rhythm of the Arkham games, but the real star was the vehicular warfare. The wasteland felt appropriately desolate, and upgrading your car felt just as vital as upgrading Max himself. It provided the constant, satisfying loop of survival and mechanical progression. It probably stayed with me because it was one of the first times I discovered the game entirely on my own that I truly enjoyed. Number 6. Mafia II. My introduction to the franchise. Think of it like a strictly linear, highly narrative GTA. You drive, you shoot, you quest, but you're doing it purely for one of the best crime stories in gaming history. The betrayals and the plot twists keep you completely locked in. The story is legendary. The 100% completion run, however, is a psychological chore. Collecting all Playboy magazines and wanted posters across the city felt like a pure grind, which is why Mafia II proudly rests at a comfortable 70%. Number 5. Metro 2033. This game helped me discover something about my own taste in games. Atmosphere can carry an entire experience. The tunnels of the underground Moscow metro were genuinely terrifying. Mutants could jump you from any corner, and your military-grade ammunition doubled as an actual currency, meaning you literally couldn't afford to spray and pray. Combined with the Artyom's bizarre supernatural visions, the payoff at the end felt incredibly rewarding. Metro was one of the first games that made me realize I love worlds that feel immersive enough to pull me in completely. Number 4 is The Walking Dead, Seasons 1 and 2. I played both back to back, and they stand as equals in my eyes. The writing touched me so deeply that Telltale became the very first game studio I started tracking by name. Even though it was mostly an illusion of choice, the split-second decisions made me constantly doubt myself, and losing characters genuinely hurt. But as good as this series was, Telltale had an even greater masterpiece up their sleeve, which we'll get to in a moment. Number 3. Dying Light. I always prefer close-quarter melee combat over traditional gunfights, and this scratched that itch perfectly. The parkour felt incredibly fluid, but what truly elevated the game was its terrifying day and night cycle. Daytime was a fun playground. Nighttime turned the game into a high-octane horror movie as you sprinted blindly away from volatiles. But what made Dying Light unforgettable was that it became the first story-driven game I completed with my cousin. We beat it together, establishing a tradition that lasted for years, turning every future Dying Light release into our thing. That's why, whenever I remember Dying Light, I remember the time spent with my cousin. Number 2. The Wolf Among Us. This is it. The absolute pinnacle of Telltale storytelling. If The Walking Dead made me a Telltale fan, The Wolf Among Us made me realize they could become true titans of storytelling. The premise is brilliant. Folklore and fairy tale characters are exiled to a gritty, noir-style New York City, forced to conceal their identities. Playing as Bigby, the big bad wolf turned sheriff, investigating a string of brutal murders, was mesmerizing. The mysteries kept me completely glued to the screen. When the sequel trailer was finally revealed for 2027, marking a 14-year gap since the original, I literally jumped out of my seat at the very first frame. And even today, when people talk about Telltale, The Wolf Among Us is the game I think of first. If you haven't played it, fix that immediately. Finally, my number 1 game for 2016 is Assassin's Creed 2. This was my very first entry into the franchise, and it set the bar so high. To this day, only Brotherhood can compete with it. AC2 being my first Assassin's Creed game, everything felt fresh. The historical setting, the conspiracy around ancient artifacts, and reliving memories through the Animus, it all felt incredibly unique. I remember how strong the core idea felt. You weren't just playing history, you were stepping into it. Hunting for relics tied to something much bigger than yourself, while slowly uncovering what was truly going on underneath it all. And then there's Ezio. The setting, the tone, the charm, it all came together in a way that made the experience feel effortless to get lost in. Even the idea of full synchronization mattered. Finding secrets and earning armor didn't feel like checking boxes. It felt like you were actually syncing the memory properly. It gave me a reason to chase 100% completion without needing achievements. Looking back, I think games like this and Far Cry 3 back in 2015 quietly shaped the way I approach completion without me even realizing it at the time. And honestly, I'd drop anything I'm playing right now for a full remake of Ezio Trilogy, just to feel it again. 2016 was the year that forced me out of my comfort zone. It pushed me to look for unique games entirely on my own, moving from emotionally loaded choices of Telltale to the panicked adrenaline-filled night runs of Dying Light. And it laid the perfect foundation for what came next. In 2017, I would dive headfirst into one of the most beloved indie titles of all time and discover a permanent obsession with atmospheric games thanks to a cult classic that had me praying for a sequel. A sequel I eventually got after over 12 years of the initial release. But that is the story for the next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Soma signing out.